Me and Simon, we watched a fantastic show called Robot Wars. It came on to BBC Two.
And it was a bit of a shock, and we were well impressed, particularly with the house robots.
Just from the advert that we saw was Rob Knight up there with Mortis whacking away with this great axe, and we imagined, God, that'd be really simple. There's a nice little machine, a bit like a radio controlled car with a little axe on top. Be really easy to build. Perhaps we can give Rob Knight a bit of a sorting out.
So we thought, well, this is something we could probably do. We should get involved in this.
I was so delighted that my friends had built this new machine to go in and have a go at Robot Wars, and I made them get me audience tickets, and I was actually there, not part of the team for Series 2 but part of the audience, and right after I'd seen it I was just so impressed and enthused. I joined the team and did the website for you and everything.
Superb stuff.
Well, we came up with a concept of Razer pretty much based on the machines we saw in Series 1 and based very much on the rules. It was when we got the rules and figured that there was 3,000 psi hydraulic oil available, that was the one that did it for us.
The best way to destroy steel is actually to stick it in a press. Now, me and Simon, we thought long and hard about this. We were looking at kind of rotary disc ideas, axes and things like that. We're only going to get like a small hole, so to stick it in a fly press and actually crush it down would be much better. So the big plier idea came through.
The driving force behind Razer's terrible, powerful weapon is hydraulics. Now, hydraulics are used in many applications, such as forklifts, brakes on cars, JCBs, all those sorts of things use this powered oil, this liquid pressure running through.
The difference with hydraulics to pneumatics is compressed gas, CO2 or even compressed air. Hydraulics is a compressed liquid and you can get a lot more force out of it.
Now, we want to make it look pretty terrible. So the only way to do that is to make like a big claw, if you've ever seen the talons that are on a big eagle or something like that. They look pretty bad, so why not have a big claw on top? And that's why it originally looked like a claw. Now, then we changed it to look a bit like an eagle, and it gradually developed with its wings and its look. And a lot of people don't actually see that at the moment it's got an eye in it, so it became this kind of biomechanical creature.
So the original Razer started off as a cardboard mock-up, pretty much as you see it now. The scale was there. This is so as we could slot in the components we had and suss out this gear ratio or leverage ratio for the arm. So let's show you how it works. We've got a small starter motor here out of a 500cc motorcycle. It's amazing how much power you can get through one of these, running into a gearbox and a 5-piston radial hydraulic pump. This is what generates a 3,000 psi oil pressure. Pressure runs up through a series of hoses to an exchanger block. And this is what runs the hydraulic cylinder in the base of the machine in and out. The arm pivots at about this point and the cylinder rests in the base of the machine. So it's pushing and pulling the arm. This will open up to about 2-foot gap. We figured we'd get most robots in there, and it will close, the arm will run right through the base and pretty much generates 3 tons per square inch on there. And the tip isn't really a square inch, it's a lot smaller than that, so your piercing pressure is a lot more than 3 tons. You generate about 6 tons here, and if you could get a machine right up in the back where it's about 1-to-1, you get 9 tons of crush there. Now, the easiest way to explain this is perhaps with a pair of pliers. Now, you see, for ordinary human being application, the handles are longer than the jaw. This is so as you can get a bit of force in on the old jaw there. But for Razer, it's sort of the opposite way round. We've got Razer's 9-ton hydraulic ram at the tips here on a 3-to-1 leverage ratio. So we've got 9 tons at this point, we're at 3 tons there. So you've got 9, 0, 9, 6 and 3. So sort of working the opposite way round. That's how we get the 2-foot sort of jaw opening here. And I think the revolutionary thing about Razer was we are literally crushing other robots on top of our own chassis. This is something I think to date that still hasn't been done yet. We've got the electronics under here, we've got the pump and the starter, and the gearbox is right in the crushing area where you'd think it would get damaged, but it's given Razer its revolutionary appearance.
Right, and the Razer's not only this great big weapon, it's also a bit of a racing car. And what I'm going to do is explain to you kind of how all that works. There's a few aspects to this. First aspect of that is the batteries. We went for 24 volts. We figured that's about enough. You're going to get enough power out of that, enough voltage. If you had 12 volts, then you're going to have very high amperage. You're going to be looking at thicker wire here. Now, this goes then through to the speedos. They can handle about 100 amps each. There's 2 cards in there. Now what they do is they link up to 2 motors, a bit like a tank track type style idea. The 2 motors are at the back here, nicely air cooled. They're only 12 volts. Now we were overrunning them at 24 volts. That's to make them spin really fast. We actually spin these motors at 6,000 RPM. They then go down through a gearbox, out into the transmission through the belts. A few people have said to us, you know, that it may be risky that we actually run belts, but belts are great. I mean, they're really flexible things. Now, this thing's got a handle. The chassis layout for Razer is pretty square. You know, if you look at a car, it's quite long. The wheels are sort of arranged in a very long sort of way. Razer squares up. Now, that allows the back end to skew round. Brilliant handling, really nippy. Now, we finished Razer at 12 o'clock at night, and our first appearance in the show was on Series 2. We were real nervous. We got in there, we had a bit of squiffy handling, but we actually pushed Shunt right on down the end, and this started our long feud with Shunt. Great stuff.
Strange. Razer to take on Shunt and pushing him back. Now that's enormous power. Oh, what a tremendous run. That was formidable.
Our second tournament was football, which we breezed through far too easily, and then we ended up battling Inquisitor. Now the funny thing about that is the guys the night before were really worried, they're ever so nervous, and I foolishly recommended that they reverse Inquisitor into us with their flail going. And we broke down. If I hadn't have said that, they would have driven on us head on, and we could have actually bitten something that would have done some damage and disabled them. We would have gone through. So it's all my fault.
3,